How about them notes? Hey guys. All right. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no holding back the power in this room right now, rising up as a force of love so high it can't come down. Every soul is a soul on fire, burning bright with the light of life. Here we are, open wide, there's no place we can hide. We sing out, we sing. Sing out, we sing. Spirit move, our hands and feet. Spirit move, everything. Spirit move, in the space between. Spirit move, like a river deep and wide, rolling out like a mighty flood. Love's filling every heart and pouring out of us. Feel it breaking down the walls, building everybody up. It's taking over now, there's no way it can stop. So we sing out, we sing. Sing out, we sing. Spirit move, our hands and feet. Spirit move, everything. Spirit move, in the space between. Spirit move, Spirit move, our hands and feet. Spirit move, everything. Spirit move, in the space between. Spirit move, Spirit move,
Hello and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Northern Colorado. My name is Christine Roth. I am a practitioner here in this community, and we're so glad you're able to join us in person or those of you online. I am filling in for Reverend Leah today. She is taking a much-needed day off. So we are an inclusive community honoring all faith traditions, lifestyles, and beliefs. Wherever you are on your journey, you are absolutely welcome here. In the science of mind, we believe that through the power of our mind, we can create lasting change in our lives. Each Sunday, you'll receive practical spiritual tools to support you in handling the challenges in your life so that you can experience more joy and more freedom. So let's start by citing our mission and vision together. So our mission, we are an inclusive community inspiring personal growth, spiritual practice, and a positive way of life. And our vision, to awaken humanity, revealing a world that works for everyone. All right, do we have any kiddos? Yes, we do. So let's have you guys come on up. so it is time for announcements. And guess who else is taking a day off? Marie and Linda. So you get me for everything. All right, so our August outreach this month, a percentage of our tithes go to support alternatives to violence. They provide shelter, advocacy, education, and resources for people impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. So, as always, we have our QR codes up on every slide, so you can use those to get more information. Next, we have the Sacred Circle for the Feminine Spirit on Friday, August 25th, so that's coming up this week. This is a gathering of like-minded souls focused on storytelling, drumming, chanting, dancing, and meditation. So if you are a woman or one who orients as female, we welcome your presence. And you can see Linda or Gianna after service if you have questions. I don't think either of those two people are here, so we'll have you see Indrani after service if you have questions on those things. Next, we have the Karen Drucker concert coming up, so be sure that you save the date. September 21st is when the concert will be, and early bird tickets have already gone on sale, and that sale ends on August 31st. So details are in the newsletter. Please share with your friends, buy an extra ticket to bring a friend, because if you've never seen Karen Drucker, she is absolutely fabulous, and she will absolutely move you with her music. Next, we have Introduction to the Enneagram with Linda Frazee on Saturday, September 16th. Does anyone here know what their Enneagram number is? Yeah? All right. I am a number 9, which is a peacemaker. So if you want to learn more about Enneagrams and utilizing this as a tool for self-discovery, please sign up to take that. It helps people understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and areas for personal growth. So don't miss this amazing opportunity to be able to join and learn about your Enneagram number. And let's see, we have our after-service dinner gathering. So this summer, we're taking a pause from our potlucks. However, a group of folks have been gathering to have dinner after service together. So join us tonight after the service at Simmer Restaurant down the street at Drake and Shields. So if you're interested in that, you can meet at the welcome table after service, so that way you can all kind of go over together. And for any additional information, please make sure that you check out our website or read our newsletter. If you are not signed up to receive our newsletter, you can do that at the website as well. And that's it for announcements. So I invite you to settle back and go within as we begin with an opening prayer, a meditation, and a song that we will sing together. So I breathe in and awaken my mind and heart to that presence and power of the one source that I call God, the one life that I call the divine, the one spirit and essence that has its power and force in absolutely everything, knowing that it is the life back and creator of absolutely everything, and that it is filled and expressing infinite good. And what I know is that each one of us is one with this divine presence, for we are made of it. It has its being in us. And it experiences life through us and as us. And it is all around us. There is absolutely no way to separate from it, for we are one in mind, in heart, in spirit. And so what I know for each and every one of us is that in this space, there is an infinite well of love being expressed here this evening. Knowing that we tap into that space of love by opening our hearts and minds to the music that we hear, by allowing the words that are received this evening to touch that place within us that says, yes, I needed to receive that today. That we recognize that in the presence of those sitting in the chairs next to us. That we know that they too are an expression of love. And we recognize that love by simply being here, by opening our hearts to it, by allowing ourselves to just be in this moment together this evening. And so for this, I give great thanks in knowing that that power of love is being expressed here, for knowing that the truth is unfolding and being revealed. And so I release these words and let them be and allow them to unfold just as I have spoken right here, right now. And if you would like to claim any of these words for yourself, please do so by joining me in saying, and so it is. So I invite you to just go within for a moment as we become centered with our meditative chant.
Love is who I am. Love is who we are. Love is all there is. There is only love is who I am. Love is who we are. Love is all there is. There is only love is who I am. Is who I am. Is who we are. Is who we are. Is all there is. All there is only love is who I am. Is who I am. Is who we are. Is who we are. Is all there is. All there is only love. All right. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. presence is always at hand. Take comfort as I am. Take comfort as I am. Surrender all need for a plan. Divine presence is always at hand. Take comfort as I am. I know there's only one moving me to be untethered, undone. I accept this love healing, breathing me whole, and give thanks for it is done. Take comfort as I am. Surrender all need for a plan. Divine presence is always at hand. Take comfort as I am. I know there's only one moving me to be untethered, undone. I accept this love healing, breathing me whole, and give thanks for it is done. And give thanks for it is done. And give thanks for it is done.
Wow, we are just so blessed to have Jimmy and Julie with us every week. All right, so since Reverend Leah is away, we have a guest speaker this evening. So we have Reverend Josh Reeves with us this evening. Reverend Josh is lead minister at Mile High Church in Lakewood, Colorado. He is also honored to be the regional support coordinator for Colorado, serving Centers for Spiritual Living. He has written several books and is most proud of getting to be dad to 18-year-old Gavin and 4-year-old Nancy June. So please help me welcome Reverend Josh Reeves.
Great job. Good evening, everyone. It's a real honor to get to hang out with you all in this space tonight, and blessings to you and your spiritual community. When I heard your theme for the month of awakening to your divine potential, your divine truth, the terms that came up for me were humble enlightenment. Humble enlightenment. What does it mean in our day-to-day lives to practice a humble enlightenment? And it is said of the Buddha that after he achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, that he made his way to a small village, and the people could tell that there was something special about him, something different. Are you an angel? No. Are you a magician? No, the Buddha said. Are you a spirit person? No, the Buddha said. And then he replied, I am awake. I am awake. Which to me is a wonderful definition of a humble enlightenment, to just simply be awake. You know, it's so often that we mythologize enlightenment to mean a spiritual superpower or some state of incredible self-realization that stays there forever. Anybody have that? For me, enlightenment isn't a fixed state. It's something that's available to you and to me in any given moment when we are willing to have a humble reverence for life. Can you think of those moments of enlightenment in your life? Maybe they fleeted quickly, but I don't know about you, but it's like my soul captures them forever. And it's like I don't have to wait till I die to experience eternal life, but I can get a little taste of it right here and right now with that humble enlightenment, which begins for me with a humble reverence. I don't think you can always put those experiences of enlightenment into words. Nasruddin, a great Sufi teacher who wasn't real, but I love him even more than the great poet Rumi because he's like the Islamic Pink Panther. We learn through his foolishness. And one day, Nasruddin was asked to speak to a congregation at a mosque, and he got up on the stage and he said, "Do you know what it is that I'm about to tell you?" And the people looked at each other and they said, "Yes." And Nasruddin replied, "Well, there's certainly nothing for me to need to say." And he walked off the stage. And the congregation was very upset. Did we offend him? What happened? And so they invited him to come back to speak the next week. And Nasruddin takes the stage and he says, "Do you know what it is that I'm about to tell you?" And they say, "No." And he says, "Well, I'm not going to waste my time talking to a group of such ignorant people." And he again leaves the stage. So again, now they thought they've really ticked off Nasruddin. And so they invited him to come back the following week. He gets up there on the stage of the mosque and he says, "Do you know what it is that I'm about to tell you?" The people look at each other and they say, "Some of us yes, and some of us no." He says, well, those of you who know, please inform those of you who don't know," and leaves the stage. And it's a joke, and yet it speaks to this deep truth of the unspoken. That to have an experience in our life of humble reverence is to fall silent and to hear the voice of God speak to us through nature, through our connections, through our own inner truth and light. And when we're aware of that and we give ourselves credit for the enlightenment that we at least had for that little moment, it can begin to be woven into the many areas and experiences of our lives. How many of you are willing to say right now, "I am enlightened"? It sounds kind of egotistical. No offense, Doug. I feel a little silly saying it, but based upon this definition, I invite us to embrace that we are enlightened beings. And in order to be enlightened beings, what do we need? We need an origin story. You need an enlightenment story. Can you think of those experiences you've had in your life? Maybe the first one where you felt one with a power greater than you are and experienced some of that humble reverence. I remember mine happened when I was a teenager. I was in high school. I had started attending the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science, where a young, strapping man named Doug Rogers also attended at the time. And I was in my high school photo class reading this thing called You, still my favorite book by Ernest Holmes. And it was all kind of like self-help googly gook to me. The book even says, "Once you pick up this book, you'll never put yourself down again," which was a little cheesy, but good. And so I'm reading it, and God knows what's going on in the class. And at some point, I hit this quote that has stuck with me my whole life and defined my spiritual journey. And it goes like this: "Think for a moment upon those few whom you have lavished particular affection." Can you think about that? Now permit your imagination to include more. Think to yourself, what would it be like if everyone I meet should arouse in me the same deep affection? And I was like, stop. Wait a second. The few people who I care about the most are special. If I love everyone the same way, that's not going to make them special anymore. And then I read the next sentence. And he says, "Dare to lose your small affection and find it multiplied through greater union." And that was the statement that got me. Dare to lose your small affection. And there in this classroom with the jocks and the goth kid and the this and the that, where we're working so hard to be different, I had this kind of oneness experience with all of them there. And I would say that my whole spiritual life journey has been a process of losing my small affection. that just when I think I can't love anymore, just when I think all is set, life says, think again. Dare to lose your small affection. I can recall being very happy and content with a single way of life until my wife and her son, now my son, came into it. I can think of 7 years getting to be the senior minister of a wonderful congregation in Seal Beach, California, thinking life could not get better. I lived right by the beach, right by the church, right by my favorite Irish bar. Life could not get better. And then I got a call one day from Roger Teal over at Mile High Church. Dare to lose your small affection. Moving to Colorado, creating more space, a little girl is born. Dare to lose your small affection. And even now, having this little girl in my life, almost squeezing her so tight, can't imagine loving a drop more. There's that voice of spirit again. Dare to lose your small affection. And that's what a humble reverence can do. It can help us remember that it's not just your life that you're leading, but there's a life that's leading you. There's a life, a divine life that's living you. And that I don't live in my universe, but I have to be reminded from time to time that I live in God's universe. That I live in a miracle taking place. And when I can see my part in it, I can embrace that enlightenment and the humility that can go along with it. So humble enlightenment requires humble reverence, but I think it also requires humble response. Enlightenment to me isn't a given. It's not a first cause. It's not something we bring into situations. That's me liking to live under the illusion that I'm right. Anyone else like to live under that illusion? Enlightenment is a response to nature, to making a great connection with someone, to experiencing our own inner light. And this is expressed to us in the spiritual origin stories of the Buddha and of Jesus. If you recall with the Buddha, at its most basic, it's a story that all of us parents can resonate because it's about a father that wants to keep his child from suffering. We all want that, and yet in this case, Siddhartha, young Siddhartha, is a prince and his dad is a king, so he has the means to try and keep young Siddhartha in the kingdom so that he never experiences suffering. But one day, as all of our children do, they get outside. And young Siddhartha sees violence. He sees sickness. And he sees death. And it cultivates this feeling in him, this strong, incredible feeling. And he doesn't know what it is. And so he sets forth on a religious quest and tries everything available. Asceticism, Hinduism. If it were in today's world, it'd be Christian Science and Scientology and Nexium and all of these different things. And eventually he sits under the Bodhi tree and he says, I'm not leaving this spot until I figure out what this feeling is. And he encounters Mara, very similar to the temptation of Christ, this god of illusion that tries to tempt the young Siddhartha away from his meditation until finally the Buddha experiences his enlightenment and he's able to know what this feeling is, this feeling that he feels in response to the suffering of the world. And what is it? Compassion. Compassion. What is enlightenment? But being able to respond to any instance in our lives, any conflict, any relationship with a heartfelt and centered compassion. Jesus' story has been told so many ways. But one way to put it is it's a story of rejection. Jesus experiences his enlightenment by being baptized, and he hears the voice of God in his heart saying, you are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. And then he goes on trying to spread this ministry of God in his heart, and he's rejected over and over again by his family, by his fellow Jewish community, by the Orthodox rabbis, by the Romans and the Greeks, eventually even by his own disciples. And there he is being murdered on a cross. Martin Luther King Jr. said of the cross that it was the most powerful spiritual symbol because one, it symbolized the greatness of what human beings can accomplish, that someone like Jesus, as enlightened as him, could exist and live, and the sordid weakness of humankind, that we could kill that person. And there he is on his cross, and he has this final realization. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. For the Buddha, the realization to respond to suffering is compassion. For Jesus, the correct response to suffering is forgiveness. And I don't know about you, but the more I think about those, compassion and forgiveness, it's hard for me to see a real difference between them. An enlightened response, humble responding in our lives, is when we're able to respond to whatever takes place with compassion and forgiveness. Doesn't mean we don't need boundaries. Doesn't mean we don't need to acknowledge hurts when they take place. But the sooner we get back to that loving compassion and that loving forgiveness, the better. So there's humble reverence. There's humble response. And lastly, there's humble service. Humble service. Martin Luther King Jr. also said of Jesus that he gave us a new norm for greatness. A new norm for greatness. If you want to be great, wonderful. If you want to be special, wonderful. But if you really want to be great, you will make whoever is greatest among you your servant. That you will seek to serve and assist and help others. In Buddhism, the angels are known as bodhisattvas. And a bodhisattva is like a Buddhist angel in the sense that they are known to delay their own enlightenment in order to help others enter into heaven. One analogy is that the bodhisattva holds the door of heaven open so that everyone can walk through, withholding their own enlightenment. And I always like that. I've thought about that since I first heard it as a teenager, and it took me about 20 years to realize that enlightenment isn't about walking through the door. It is that holding the door open. That when we learn to hold the door open for others, to enter into their own awakeness, into their own greater awareness, into their own depth of being. When we open the door for ourselves to come into greater understanding and awakening, we come to understand who we really are and why we're really here, and we realize that the being of service is enlightenment itself. So humble enlightenment is having a humble reverence, a humble response, and a humble service. And in closing, I invite you to think about where those may be showing up in your life. For a humble reverence, ask yourself, did I have a moment of awe today? Did I take some time to listen to some good music, or get out there in nature, or experience solitude? When it comes to humble response, ask yourself, in response to the sufferings of the world, whether it was something on the news, or a loved one who is struggling, or even that suffering that we find in holding on to being right, did I have a humble response of compassion and forgiveness? And who did I hold the door open for today? Did I practice that enlightenment in a way that made the world that much of a better place, even just a little bit? And I think if we've done those things, we can humbly embrace the enlightenment of who and what we are. So I so appreciate getting to share with you today. I'm going to move into prayer and invite you to join me if you so choose. Just taking a deep breath. And again, just moving into that place where God speaks without words. Mother Teresa said, in the silence of the heart, God speaks. And perhaps as we're listening, we may feel that gentle voice of God, speak not with words, but with the voice of love, and with that voice of forgiveness and compassion, calling us to recognize that enlightenment is not some far-off existence or some superficial set of spiritual definitions, but that it's something that's true of who you are and who I am right now. We just have to choose it. We just have to have the courage to be awake, knowing that as we commit to greater acts of compassion and forgiveness, that we are doing what Brother Lawrence called practicing the presence of God. We are weaving a spirit into our relationships, into our work, into all that we do. And lastly, that humble service I invite us to ask ourselves, what would most support me in my life this week? How might the divine show it forth and demonstrate it? And ask as well, how might I be of greater service? For as we warm others' hearts, we awaken to the truth of our own existence and of humanity itself. We are able to be not in our world, but in God's world, to see it as it really is and to experience it as what it really can be. Moving into our body and through our lives, I know that this presents and demonstrates as a great love, as a great healing, and as a great inspiration. We allow this to be and to become, and so it is.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend Josh, for your wonderful talk. Humble enlightenment. Where is God showing up and how can I serve? I love that. We believe that the abundance in our lives results from our giving and the law of circulation, which says, as we give, we receive. We believe giving is a spiritual decision rather than a financial one. It is a spiritual practice that enhances our lives. So I invite you to share your gifts and tithes knowing this truth. Please place your gift over your heart and repeat after me. This gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyfully I receive.
This is one of our favorites. As you probably know, I'll take any excuse to pull it back out. Here we go.
I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you've ever done for me is to help me take my life less seriously. It's only life after all.
Yeah.
Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable, and lightness has a cold that's hard to hear. I wrap my feet around me like a blanket. I sail my ship of safety till I sink it. I'm crawling on your shores. I went to the doctor, I went to the mountains, I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, the closer I am to find. The closer or see it be a great movie. He graded my performance. He said he could see through me. I spent 4 years prostrate to the higher mind. Got my paper and I was free. I went to the doctor. I went to the mountains. I looked to the children. I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source from some infinitives, the closer I am to find. The closer I am to find. I stopped by the bar at 3 a.m. to seek solace in a bottle or possibly a friend. And I woke up with a headache like my head against a board, twice as cloudy as I'd been the night before. And I went in seeking clarity. I went to the doctor. I went to the mountains. I looked to the children. I drank from the fountains. We go to the doctor. We go to the mountains. We look to the children. We drink from the fountain. Yeah, we go to the Bible. We go through the workout. We read up on revival. We stand up for the lookout. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source from some infinitives, the closer I am to find. The closer I am to find. The closer I am to find.
All right, so I am going to bless the tithes and offerings, knowing that all that we have received is done in great love, so we can continue to bring you these spiritual tools, these talks, these concerts, and everything else, knowing that it is all surrounded in great love of the divine. And so it is. All right. Do we have Corey here? Yes, there she is. So I have been blessed to know Corey since she was very tiny, probably about 3 or 4 years old. So she has given so much to this community, and particularly our youth. So she is moving on to other things, and so we just want to say that we are so grateful for all that you have done and for all that you continue to do, and know that whatever it is in your next journey, you're going to do amazing, great things. All right, so do we have any newcomers that are here for the first time? If so, I promise I'm not going to put you in the spotlight. We would just like for you to raise your hand. We have a welcome packet for you, so our ushers will come by and give that to you. We just want you to know that we see you, we appreciate you, and you are absolutely welcome here. After service, our practitioners are available I'm your practitioner. I will be available for prayer. If you would like what we like to call a 1-minute miracle, I'm happy to pray in person with you. If in-person prayer doesn't work for you this evening, we always have a prayer request box, which is in the back of the room. So you can put your prayer request in that box. It will go to the practitioners, and we will pray for you this week. So now it is time for our benediction. So I invite you to stand, and we'll do our benediction together and our closing songs. So please place your hands over your heart and say it with me. May we be at peace. May our hearts remain open. May we awaken to the light of our own true nature. May we be healed. May we be a source of healing for all beings. Love is who I am. Love is who we are. Love is all there is.